Today we're going to learn about how to customize MicroStation, in particular MicroStation V8i Select Series 2. What we're going to learn is going to be applicable to all versions of V8i. First thing we're going to talk about is where does MicroStation store the customization. Second is going to be how do I create a toolbox with my favorite tools. Next, a task. And then finally we're going to look at how to edit the context menu, my personal favorite. First of all, we're going to go to the File Open dialog box. When you start up MicroStation, this is what you see. In the bottom right corner, we have User, Project, and Interface. Your work environment, your company may have customized the workspace environment, so I can't speak to all the possible scenarios. This is kind of a generic install of MicroStation, so you may need to speak with your CAD manager about this. But for User, what I'm going to do is choose Untitled, Project. If it doesn't switch to no project automatically, I'm going to go ahead and select it. Down below is the interface option. By default, you have default. What I'm going to do is click on this button, and I get an option to create a new interface. When I do that, a little dialog box pops up, and it says Create New Interface. What do I want to call it? Well, I'm going to call this My Tools. You can give it a description if you want. I'm just going to click OK. And then I see under Interface here, My Tools. Now what happened in the background was MicroStation created a folder called My Tools, and in that folder it created a file called mytools.dgnlib. Now a dgnlib file is a DGN library file. It's just an everyday garden variety MicroStation file, but MicroStation, we use that to store all kinds of information, and in this particular example we're going to be looking how it can store customization. So once it's created this folder and this file, I'm going to need to find it. Now in a modified workspace environment, this could be different. So you may have to ask your CAD administrator again where yours was created. In my situation, if I go to the Look In option and I come up here, I go to Workspace, I see a folder called Interfaces, I open that. I see a folder called MicroStation, I open that, and down below there's Default, as we saw before, that ships with the product, and there's the folder that I created, My Tools. If I open that, located in here, you see it says No Items. You're thinking, well, where did it go? Down below, we're telling it to look for files with an extension of DGN, DWG, or DXF. You need to change this to say, show me DGN library files, and when I do that, there's my DGN library file. Again, when on the File Open dialog box here, when I created the interface, the folder and the file were automatically generated. Now I'm going to open up this file. If I go up to the Workspace pull-down menu and I go to Configuration, if you need to figure out where your organization is storing this information, there's a variable that MicroStation uses to locate this. I'm going to go ahead and scroll on down here. This is the variable. It's called ms_GUI dgnlib list. And in my example down here, again, I install MicroStation on my D drive. You can see there's a folder, and it was created called My Tools, and it's looking for anything in there with the dgnlib extension. So that's how I can figure out where the file is. So once I'm in the file that MicroStation's looking to for customization, now I can start my customizing. If I go to Workspace again and I go to Customize, this will open up my Customize dialog box. Now if you've done customization in MicroStation before, in V8 2004 or earlier versions, the Customize dialog box looks significantly different. We have the same essential functionality. In the other dialog box, we had tabs across the top. In this case, the tabs are on the right. The tabs are different, but essentially very similar. So on the left-hand side where it says Tools, you can see User Tools. If I expand this, we see our file name right there, mytools.dgnlib. And you'll notice the icon is blue. This means that MicroStation is configured to look to this file for customization. If it was gray, and I'll show you an example of what that is, see the gray icon here? If this icon up here was that same kind of grayish color, that would have meant that this is not configured, MicroStation is not configured to look here. So in this case, we're good. I'm going to select this. When I do, the toolbar activates up at the top. I can create a new toolbox. I could just create a straight up new tool, but I'm going to do a toolbox, and I can also get to it by right-clicking on my DG and lib file, say New Toolbox, and we're going to call this Fave Tools. You can give it any name you'd like to. Now I've got a toolbox. Now it's time to populate the toolbox with my favorite tools. So if I expand applications, which I already did, and I expand MicroStation, what I'm going to see listed below are all the toolboxes that ship with MicroStation. So you're going to need to find the toolbox that has the tools that you want. So I'm just going to slide on down to, let's say for example, linear elements. Select that, expands. There's a couple of tools that are pretty popular. There's Place Smart Line, and if I hold the Control key down, I can select additional tools. Once I've got the ones I want selected, I right-click on them, I select Copy, I slide back up, right-click on Fave Tools, and I paste. Now I've added those tools to it. So it's this simple. You can continue to add additional tools if you want. If I went down to, let's say for example, my Modify toolbox, if I expand that, there's some tools I like. Modify, oh, there's Trim to Element, again holding the Control key down. There's some tools right there, and I right click, I copy them, I slide back up to the top, right click on Fave Tools, and paste. Now these are different types of tools, so what I may want to do is insert a separator. So there's an option up here, separator. Click on that, and whatever tool you have selected, it pops it in directly below it. So if you do pop it into the wrong location, you go, gee, well, how do I get rid of it? You can either delete it if you want to, or you can just grab the tool or the separator and you can just move it and slide it in between. So you can see you can adjust its location. So it's pretty simple just to adjust the location of these tools in their position on the toolbox. Now that I've got my toolbox created called Fave Tools, how do I open this up? I can just right click on it from here and go to Open Toolbox. And there's my favorite tools, and there's my separator. This can be docked on all four sides of the screen. I can resize it just as it stands here. You can see the separators taking effect. You can right click on it. You can hide or show tools just like any other toolbox in MicroStation. So that's creating a toolbox. I'm going to go ahead and close that out. On the left hand side you have the task navigation. Now if you're using task navigation in your organization, you can see that we ship MicroStation with some defaults. There's drawing and drawing composition. Your organization may have created some. You may want to create your own tasks that has your own special tools on it. How we do that is back to our Customize dialog box. On the right side over here you'll see tasks. You'll see user tasks. I'll select that, expand it. There's my DG and lib again. If I select this, I get the option to create a new task. I'll click on that. Looking for a name. I'm going to call this My Tools. Again, you can call it anything you want. Now it's not going to be displayed on the left hand side until we actually start to populate it. So I can add in individual tools. I can just drag a tool in, drop it in, and as soon as I do that, you'll see it appears on my task navigation on the left. There's the tool. Now you can drag entire toolboxes over. I can take my entire toolbox, drag it onto my tools there, and it pops up, and you can see if I display this as panel list, there's my tools listed right there. So you can create a task. You can populate it with whatever tasks you want. If you're using tasks, that's a great way to do it. Now, my personal favorite is the context menu. Now, I'm not sure if any of you are using that yet, but when you have your cursor in the drawing area and you hold and press the right button in MicroStation, you get what's called the context menu. You have to hold and press it until it appears. Now, we've shipped MicroStation with some standard ones, for example, copy, move, scale, rotate, things like that. We have level off. Again, if you haven't taken a look at this, I strongly encourage you to do this. This particular tool allows me to turn off a level by just clicking on an element, and it knows the level it's on. It'll turn it off for me. You also have select all, select none to unselect elements, select previous, select the previous element you had selected, and you've got some other options like delete and element information. All right, now how do I edit that? Back to my customization dialog box. On the right hand side where we had tasks, I go down to task menus. Again, I see my DG and lib file. If I'm going to select this, I can now add tools to this. Now I can go back to My Tools, I can use the ones in MicroStation. But if I go and select a tool, I can just drag and drop it onto my context menu. And I also have the option to edit it. So if I move my cursor back into the drawing area, if I right click, you'll see Place Smart Line is added. So it's that simple to add any tool you want to in MicroStation to your context menu. If you want to, you could also, I'm going to take this one and delete it. Go to selected and hit delete. You can add entire toolboxes to it. So for example, you may want to add specific tools, like for example, drop. If I drag and drop, sounds funny, but there it is. If I want to add my dimension tools, I can drag dimension tools over here. Drag it onto my DGN-lib and it appears. You can add any tools that you want to, or toolboxes in this case, that you want to. So for example, hatch. We'll drag another one over just for the sake of demonstration. So I've got these 3 toolboxes expanded. They have all the tools there. If I go back to my drawing area, I right click. There's my tools boxes and my tools displayed underneath. So that's how we customize MicroStation. Again, it's pretty simple. Everything's easy once you know how to do it. If I close my Customize dialog box, if I do a File Close in MicroStation, if I come back out here, Interface, My Tools, I can now go to any other workspace environment. I can choose General, I can go to Civil, open up any other DGN file. Oops, what I did not do was change my tools, my interface to My Tools. Now when I open up MicroStation using that interface, you can see there's My Tools as my task. If I right click, there's my customization to my context menu. So on the File Open dialog box, you just need to remember to choose, like I didn't, the correct interface. If you choose default, it'll go back to default. If you choose My Tools, you could choose that. Now you could create as many interfaces as you want to. So you may have different specific tasks or tools that you like to see, so you could do that. So I hope this is helpful to you, and I wish you the best in customizing MicroStation. Make it your own. Enjoy.